Starting where I left off on video 1, the use of terrorism ranges from individual acts of wanton damage or destruction to property or person to highly sophisticated operations conducted by highly organized violent groups with social, environmental, religious, economic, or political agendas. This full range of terrorist activities can have significant negative impact on the conduct of missions by U.S. military forces. Terrorism is a significant challenge for U.S. military forces in the 21st century. Terrorist violence has changed in recent years from an agenda-forcing and attention-getting tool to politically disfranchised to significantly asymmetric form of conflict employed against adversaries of greater economic, military, and political strength. While terrorist acts may have been seen as extraordinary several decades ago, today terrorism demonstrates a profound impact on populations at the local, regional, national, and international levels. Terrorism is defined by DoD as the calculated use of unlawful violence or threat of unlawful violence to inculcate fear, intended to coerce or intimidate governments or societies in the pursuit of goals that are generally political, religious, or ideological. This is not a universally accepted definition outside of the Department of Defense, and the study of terrorism has often been mired in a conflict over definitions and semantics. This is examined in Chapter 1, but for the purposes of this DoD document, this doctrinal definition will be used unless otherwise noted. Terrorism is a special type of violence. While it has a political element, it is a criminal offense under nearly every national and international legal code. Although terrorism has not yet caused a physical deviation in a large number of casualties normally associated with traditional warfare, it often produces a significant adverse psychological impact and presents a greater threat than a simple reckoning of numbers killed or the quality of material destroyed would indicate. An excellent example of this is the impact of the United States of the 9/11 attacks and the following anthrax incidents. For many people around the U.S., these attacks weakened their sense of safety and security. This first experience of catastrophic terrorism was evidence that the United States was not immune to attacks by international or transnational terrorist groups. Ultimately, these attacks also had severe economic impacts on the country. As Brian Jenkins testified to the 9/11 Commission, the September 11th attack produced cascading economic effects that directly and indirectly have cost the United States hundreds of billions of dollars. For other citizens, though, these terrorist acts fortified their will and resolve. Consequently, a national resolve emerged from the catastrophic incidents to combat terrorism and reassert confidence in the economy, successfully in attracting attention and creating fear and anxiety. Terrorist acts often fail to translate into concrete long-term gains or achieve an ultimate objective. Escalating acts of terrorism can be self-defeating when the acts become so extreme that public reaction loses attention on the terrorist's intended purpose and focuses on the acts rather than the political issue. Understanding the nature of the terrorist threat through a concise historical review of terrorism and basic descriptions of methods and organizational structures commonly used by terrorist organizations. Understand terrorist goals, objectives, and conduct of terrorist operations, acknowledging that asymmetric operations provide a significant advantage to the terrorists. Study of situational patterns and techniques in terrorism over time can offer insight and possible trends for future attacks. Understand the threat of terrorism to U.S. military forces, equipment, and infrastructure. Identify appropriate levels of force protection, operational security, and terrorism countermeasures based upon unit status and situation. Provide relevant terrorism information that applies to active component and reserve component, Federal Reserves, and state National Guard forces in primary scenarios of being deployed on a mission. Being deployable or in transit for an operational mission of being a non-deployable military force that is designed as installation or institutional support. This handbook is not intended to be a counterterrorism how-to manual to replace current training and intelligence products. Its intent is to provide a base of knowledge that will allow better understanding and employment of existing resources. I guess I'm going to end the video here. I'm going to be doing more videos from here on out, so if there's anyone watching, continue watching, and I hope these videos can be helpful to you. We all know that in our country, through the use of bed bugs, the things you see on TV, things like Columbine, things like the suicide rate in our country, drug use in our country, the whole thing mixed together. That's why, that's why I try to warn you guys about these subjects, is because of what's happening right now, and because of the way that we turn our backs to some things, or the way that we might mock other people. Every great nation throughout history has came to a standing point where they both had to fight. Some have been eliminated, some have eliminated others. That's just how it. That's just. If you're from the United States of America and you live in the USA and you're watching this, understand that this is the United States. We broadcast ourselves, we have this big network within our own country, and if you can disrupt that network and make individuals, fear, pride, the seven deadly sins, if you can bring this into this person's life and change the things that are around them, some people are just willing to do anything just for that one piece. And we have to understand that out there. There's a lot of different things. I'm not going to go on and over about it, but I just want you guys to know out there, and you men and women and people who are watching this video, if you are, I'm not a lunatic. I'm not someone that biologically, chemically, I'm not above anyone in any matters, so there's no need to, do anything like that, or try to make people around you hurt each other to prove your points out there. Understand, I'm only here to try to warn you, and even within our own military, you'll find people who are the same way. Some people just have complexes inside of their minds, and they just have to be that way. It makes them sick to their stomach. They can't stand the stress of it around them. That's pretty much biological and chemical weapons. That's just how it works. Weather, change in the weather, change in seasons, going from winter to summer, change in moisture. There's a lot of different things that can affect the mind and the body, and people are willing to exploit for it. They're willing to try to do everything they can to conceal themselves and steal whatever they can. That's just how it works for some people. But back to the issue I was saying about the war of nations. Right now, we're at war with a nation. We're shooting each other on the front lines with weapons. You don't think those M16s and those AR-15s and those AK-47s are, they're not a toy. I mean, I just can't load one right now and walk out into my thing and start shooting, because bullets kill people, and when people get killed, feelings are hurt. Excuse me, I'm kind of cold right now because I'm using this, so I might mess up here and there because I keep myself really, really cool. So what's happening is that I just can't load a gun and walk out into the streets and start shooting people. And as I said before, if you were watching, that's one of the biggest things that our country gets taken with: the land of the free and a home of the brave. The land of the free, that's the biggest one. It's because some countries, they keep things within, and it's just the way rules are in some nations, and because of the rules within our nation, people are going to be affected by these. The person really isn't going to hurt you, he's really not going to do anything, he's going to use the psychological aspect of the mind. War games, the movie War Games, it's called Falcon's Maze. You know, alarm systems, safes, locks, things like that. That's just what it is. I mean, you could get to a safe, but you can't get into the safe. You can't touch anything within inside of the safe. Or Falcon's Maze from War Games could also be used in the manner of, the whole nature of just confusing the person continuously, just keeping him within. If you were to put a person inside of a box and just like don't give him no connection to the outside world and try to exploit him, that's how terrorists within our nation are working, because they don't want to go to prisons and jails, because some people don't get along in prisons and jails, and some people control prisons and jails, so they figure if we can hide from it. Enjoy this video. For the people out there who are going to try to report me, yeah, I know why you're going to try to report me, because you want to sleep at night and you want to have peace, so you're going to try to make it seem, you're going to try to turn the public against me so I don't warn people, and that's because you don't understand. That's why I'm trying to educate you on it. People will be taken in this current war, and yes, military families and mothers of the kids fight. You see, that's just what it all comes down to. It's not political, it's psychological. The land of the free and the home of the brave. The land of the free. I mean, I live in the United States of America right now, and I can vouch for you. That's at this point in time, the things that I'm seeing, that's all it is. Our country is changing dramatically because of the war that we're at. We're having bed bugs thrown on us. We're getting angry. We want everything to go our ways. The land of the free and the home of the brave. That's the point of the terrorist act. That's the point of it. That's why you try to make it happen. You make it happen to disrupt the society and make them dependent upon yours, or to completely eliminate. Every great nation's did it. Every great nation comes to that point in their nation's. It'll be history someday, but if you read about history, you can see that it's happened multiple times. It's happened a lot. So I'm gonna go now. Enjoy the video, and I'll be doing more later on.